If I say these names, what comes to mind? Kiribati, Maldives, Netherlands, and Florida. You might be thinking of a great place to spend a holiday and potentially pet some good swamp puppies. Well, there's another thing that could come to mind that is less obvious: flooding or rising sea levels. Most of those locations are in lowland areas and in some cases even below sea level. This means more potential place for my kind, but less so for humans and multiple animals that live on land. Now, how would this happen? What could be the cause of such dramatic changes? Well, hear me out. Global warming. As temperature rises, the ice melts. It wouldn't be so problematic if 100% of the ice was already in the water, but only 90% of the ice is currently floating in our oceans. That leaves 10% of the ice on land. You can ask me, what difference does that make? Ice in the water already displaces its mass. You can see the difference when a bartender adds the ice after he finishes preparing your drink. So you think there's more liquid in your cup than there really is. It's marketing. On the other hand, ice on land hasn't displaced its mass in the water because it's on land. So once it melts, it joins the oceans and it will increase the overall sea level by the amount that melted. NASA has recorded on average about 10 centimeter or 3.9 inches of sea level rise since 1993. It doesn't sound like much, and in most cases it will not be really noticeable, unless you're in the Maldives or in Kiribati. Most of Kiribati's atolls are under 3 meters above the sea level, while the Maldives' highest point is just 5 meters above sea level. Suddenly, an increase of the sea level by 10 centimeters is scary, especially when tides can, on the full moon, have a coefficient of 2.6 meters. As a land dweller, waking up with water up to your waist at night is not as fun as it sounds. Some concerned Floridians and scientists are warning that by 2050, any land in Florida that is 1 foot above sea level will be underwater. While the Netherlands, the government has requested to make sure that the country dikes are ready to prevent sea level rise of up to 3 meters. If the ice cap melt, the rising sea level isn't the only problem. Ice caps have a tendency to reflect solar rays, reducing the heat. On the other hand, the ocean tends to absorb heat. The water will evaporate, rise into the atmosphere, sucking in with itself hot air, and it will start to form clouds. Those clouds will eventually become tropical storm, hurricane, typhoon, cyclone, Medicanese events. In the last several months, communities have been experiencing it. Florida, and more recently Spain, was heavily hit by large storms and flooding. This is a very simple oversimplification, but the role of warm ocean in creations of storms is not neglectable. Warm oceans can fuel hurricanes and tropical storms, making them even worse when they hit land. Storms and sea level rises play a factor in increasing erosion. Several community members in Kiribati have seen their land reduced by 70% in the last 40 years. This doesn't just affect Kiribati. The last few years, Dover has recorded an increase of 22 to 34 centimeters on average of erosion every year. This also extended across the channel. Norman News constantly report massive portions of cliff collapsing, along with concern of communities living near the sea as the land rapidly erodes. Sadly, we can't really solve a lot of those problems, especially when some companies and countries are advertising the ice melt as a new El Dorado for potential profits. I will not name any of them because it would be off topic and we would head into a completely different direction. Luckily, rising sea level takes time that we can all use at our advantage and help those who we can help. The UN is trying their best to help small countries. They gave them the unique status of climate refugees, a process that will simplify immigration, while other countries, like Fiji, are trying to help them by offering them a new home. In addition, if you want, you can help your community. There are several methods. You can petition your government and your representative to take measures to reduce the effect of sea level rising by building dikes, just like in the Netherlands, by advertising the reappropriation of land to create floodplains. Naturally, a river will bend and will have way to overflow. In the past, those lands were used to be used for cattle and for farming. Nowadays, they have been used for construction and they made the river straight. By restoring those bends or those meanders, you reduce the strength and the rapidity where the water will suddenly flood a sector. By reappropriating floodplains, you can prevent cities from flooding by having the plains where crops are growing or cattle during the summer feeds flood. You can also have the construction of relief channels. You can also plant more trees. The trees have a tendency to slow down rain. If you sit under a tree while it's raining, you're not going to feel that many drops, and while everything around you is going to be wet, you won't, or very unlikely to be wet. In this system, the trees prevent the land to be oversaturated and have the water rush directly into the nearby body of water, which will then flood. Another side effect of planting more trees: the tree roots will solidify the land, preventing a future landslide or mudslide that can devastate communities. Replanting mangroves will slow down erosion and reduce the effect of storm surge and storms themselves. Planting trees will also slow down the effect and the strength of a tropical storm or typhoon. As Yann Arthus Bertrand said, we call ourselves Homo sapiens. Even Homo sapiens sapiens, the very wise men. You have the ability to shape the future of every single human being in this world and the future you want to have. I know this is a gloomy video, and I don't usually and hope will not make that type of video often. I hope you find it interesting, and I want to wish you all a good day or a good evening.